All right, well, the truth is in here. We're crossover event, and this time we're going to be talking about our favorite aliens. That's right. Wait, we were all clear we're talking about aliens from outer space, right?
Oh, dang. I totally misread that.
Oh, did you do City of God again?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, God, that doesn't count.
Okay. Back up. I'll
Okay.
change my answers.
Fair enough. I am Chris Cox from oneofus.net, and joining me are my friends and co-hosts.
I'm Martin Thomas. See me over at Double Toasted.
And I'm Danni Danger, and I'm a screen fanatic.
So yeah, we're just kind of like do what we do. We pick a couple things out, and I think we all went like we tend to do, not pick the super obvious answers. We're like, well, what about Yoda or Klingons or whatever? You're like, yeah, y'all know about all that.
There goes mine.
Let's talk about some of our other favorite aliens that are out there. But yeah, I know I like going through the whole list of every movie or TV show or what have you that I like with aliens in it. I was surprised by my own picks in the end. Yeah. But let's not start with me. Let's start with Danni Danger.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I found so I have two different picks, but one of the picks kind of encapsulates a lot of different things. And I noticed there's this through line of like my favorite aliens are like the very practical, like probably filmed by the BBC or filmed in a style like the BBC. I like growing up, I was very heavily influenced by Power Rangers. So you're talking like Ivan Ooze and Zordon.
So the goofy,
yeah. So like the really goofy aliens that aren't like filmed in this like very now every time and even in past movies that really broke the genre, there's a lot of this cinematic quality that lends this air of mystery and darkness to an alien invasion. And apparently I like aliens that are weird and campy and fully lit
and adorable
and look like they come out of like a very talented high school theater department.
Yes. Well, it's no one's surprised that Danni picks aliens that she wants to have plush huggable versions.
Yes, absolutely. So like it kind of, I feel like it started with Saban and Power Rangers. And the most recent, and then of course I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I love the alien designs for Doctor Who. They really approach everything from this very whimsical, very practical effects. Like, you can, and one of the things that I really appreciate about like those practical effects and that methodology is that you can have something that's really scary, and not because it's filmed scary or it's framed in a creepy way, but just because like conceptually it's scary. And Doctor Who is really good at this, right? Like the Daleks are the stupidest, most ridiculous looking thing in the world,
and yet they scared generations of kids.
Absolutely. And there's so many storylines where you're like, wow, for a tin can with a robot voice, that's a really dark plot line.
It's that auto-tune.
Yeah.
Exterminate.
Yeah, and I would say like the most recent example of this that I really felt that spirit come alive was in Shudder's Psycho Goreman.
Oh God, I love this movie so much.
It's so good. It's so funny. Like if you haven't seen it, go watch the trailer right now if that's not enough to convince you. It's hilarious. This evil alien basically is sent to Earth because he's just like causing a revolution on his home planet, and he's sent to Earth, and this little boy and little girl unearth him, but they find the little girl finds this jewel that controls him for a totally arbitrary reason.
Sure, it doesn't
just
matter.
Because
really,
it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
But this little girl now has control of this like murdering space alien
who they're like has killed billions of like life forms. Like he's
Yes.
one of the most horrible killers in the history of the universe, and she's got absolute control. Problem is, she's kind of a sociopath.
Oh, she is, and it's so great. She's just awful, and I love her so much. And he's and like so many of the practical effects that they do with that are so stupid too. Like his whole thing is like when he defeats somebody in combat, he consumes them, so his whole face comes apart. Yeah. And they show it, and it's really silly, and it's so over the top. But also, like if I were a little kid, that would scare the poop out of me.
I mean, it's not
I'm-
made for little kids, but it's based on people who grew up on little kid entertainment like Power Rangers.
It's not made for little kids, but in the 90s, if you were a little kid, your parents would let you watch it.
So what year is this movie from?
Just last year, I think.
Yeah, it
Maybe year
released
before?
it was supposed to come out premiere at South by Southwest in 2020.
Yeah,
And South by Southwest got shut down by COVID, so it came out in 2021 on Shudder.
Okay.
So you can absolutely go stream it there. And it's some of the most fun 2 hours I've ever had in my
I
life.
told everyone I knew about this except apparently Martin.
You never mentioned it to me.
I was just so crazy for it. I contacted the director online and we like chatted for like hours about.
How did you get
stuff.
this number?
No, he's a really, really cool guy. We're still friends online. I'm like, oh, I love this movie so much. And he because I saw a press screening of it like early on, and so no one was raving about it yet. And he was like, "Thank you so much. Oh my god, I was so worried that people wouldn't get what I was doing." And then it turned into a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. But I like that because there's other aliens that come down hunting them, like
Yes.
alien bounty hunters, and they all have their very distinctive, like sort of power set, armor, way to defeat
You
them.
look at the way they're designed, and
Yeah.
you're instantly getting a full story.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
Huh.
okay,
There's like the one that to defeat them, you have to reach into their chest, and there's a pure, perfect rose inside of their chest that
Yes.
you have to crush to destroy them.
Yeah.
it's so neato and weird and fun. Yeah, I
That sounds awesome.
really recommend.
yeah,
that.
and the way that it's just so interesting too, because there's this way that, and it's similar to, again, to Doctor Who and Power Rangers, where the characters look cheaply designed, but also really, really expensive and really detailed. Like the two things are true at the same time, and you don't really know how.
Yes.
But it's
Okay.
absolutely amazing.
Okay, like Guar.
Yes!
It has a distinctive
Very much
Guar
like
feel,
Guar.
who are also aliens. And by the way, there's a documentary coming out, I think next week, called "This Is Guar." I saw it South by Southwest. It's sort of like a history of like the band, and if you don't know who Guar is, look it up. And it may sound like it's not your thing. The documentary will be your thing because it's totally fascinating, and I recommend it.
Cool.
Yes.
But Martin, what about you?
Wow. It's hard to follow that because you just turned me on to something that I didn't even know existed. But one of my answers would be one of my favorite aliens of late is Harry Vanderspiegel. Vanderspiegel from Resident Alien, which it's been around the comic since I guess 2012. I believe, published by Dark Horse, written by Peter Hogan and drawn by Steve Parkhouse, who I remember from way back in the day when the British magazine, Warrior Magazine, that had the original Marvel Man, well, Miracle Man, as they call him now. But yeah, it's about an alien who crash lands in a little town called Patience, Washington. And the doctor has been recently killed, and as Harry has been here and can alter his appearance, he learns about human anatomy and loves detective stories and kind of gets drawn in to fill in for the doctor on a murder case and decides to stick around. And they're fun little mystery stories with the guy who is an alien that most people don't know. But after reading the first volume of this, I decided, like, oh, okay, Sci-Fi Channel has a show based on this comic. Sci-fi. I'm not
I mean,
expecting.
they've had a few hits, but a few.
But yeah,
It's like Farscape
few
or
and
Battlestar Galactica.
in
Yeah.
between. But I decided, okay, let's just advertising it. Let's check it out. And wow, what a great job they did on doing an adaptation of this. Now, it's not completely the same, although first few episodes mimic the comic very closely. But it's a great class in how you do an adaptation of something like a comic book to a TV series that has to have continual episodes and a lot more characters and flesh it out. And they take it to where it has such a northern exposure feel to it. They move it to Colorado instead of Washington, but that's negligible. But the characters from the book are pretty much the same, but then they add all these other colorful characters so that Harry, perfectly played by Alan Tudyk.
Of course, that's
Which, when you
that's
say,
why I
when,
watched it.
yeah, when you say Alan Tudyk, and you go like, "Oh, it's well played by him," it's like, well, duh.
Alan Tudyk playing a goofy sort of like Vincent D'Onofrio in the Human
Mhm.
Skin and Men in Black type
Mhm.
character. Yeah, I'll check that out.
yeah. And I felt fortunate that I didn't give the show a chance in the beginning because I got to just watch like 6 episodes straight.
Marathon straight.
Yeah.
through.
But man, I highly recommend that show. It's second season. The first half of the second season is out, which they broke it into 2 8-episode parts. So by all means, get in there before it's too late.
It's Northern Exposure crossed with Mork and Mindy, but if the alien in question is determined to murder everyone on the planet, but he's just kind of powerless at this point because he's been kind of like stranded.
Well, there's that thing where, whenever he gets rescued, when his people show up, it's going to be hell to pay for the aliens. I mean, for the Earthlings. I'm sorry, we're the aliens at this point. But all he's thinking is like, well, maybe not everybody.
Yeah, he's
like some of these people.
He's kind of got a crush on one of them. So
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
But I do.
Fun fact, Mr. Alien, that is the experience on Earth. I mean, I kind of like one or two of these humans.
Yeah.
The idea of him like going through all this and he's just constantly talking shit about everybody and he's just like, I can't wait to see you burn and turn into dust and all this, and he's like, oh, I like her. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like he is so adorable but kind of weirdly incompetent at the same time.
There
because
is that.
They got the whole fish out of water thing. They really play up that aspect of it. It really is cute and it does work, and I think 90% of that is Alan Tudyk.
Also adding little touches where in the comic or the graphic novels, he's a big fan of mysteries. Old style, hard boiled detective mysteries. So in the show, he's a huge fan of Law and Order. As a matter of fact, part of his acclamation to human life is just marathoning Law and Order, which I can attest to. They run marathons of that almost every night on one channel or another.
In the days before streaming, when it was like, oh shit, okay, what's on cable? Nothing. Oh wait, TNT's playing Law and Order all day.
Law and Order is one of the most ubiquitous human experiences.
And they are sneaky, because if you watch one and you get to the end, and before it can even
you get to the end 36 hours later when you look up again and realize what time it is.
Because this episode kind of ends and you think, all right, the commercial will come and then I'll just move on.
Okay,
and somehow it has bled into the next episode, and you see the murder and you're like, well, shit, now I got to find out what happens.
Yeah.
And then, it's 36 hours later.
Mm-hmm,
yeah. The greatest, I think, single image I've ever seen on the internet was the one with like the parodying the beginning of it, where it's like the Law and Order system is based on these things: the cops, the lawyers, and the goddamn Batman. Anyway, I'm going to pick one that I've been trying to convince people to watch forever, and I know that not everybody gets into it, but I just thought it was a glorious piece of wonder that touched all of my like hot spots, which is a movie by the guy who did Hedwig and the Angry Inch, John Cameron Mitchell, called How to Talk to Girls at Parties, which doesn't sound like an alien movie, right?
No. I remember seeing a trailer for this, and I really want to see it.
Based on the Neil Gaiman short story.
Yep.
Yeah, which I loved. I did not realize that they made that into a movie.
Who consulted on the script, and it takes place in the 1970s London during the sort of rise of the whole punk scene going on there, and these aliens are there just kind of to party, really, and figure stuff out, and they're all like there's a whole group of them, and when you see them together, it's like they're Andy Warhol's The Factory, kind of, but with like crossed with aliens from Galaxy Quest or something.
Okay,
but they're all in like human form, right? Which they're, like I said, we can only hold this up for so long. But the main one here is Ellie Fanning, who's a wonderful young actress.
Sure. And
she has a meet cute with like a comic book artist who is, figures out early on what's happening here. But they're falling in love. And like she's like, well, I'm going to have to leave with my people. And he's like, well, no, you shouldn't do that. You should stay here with me. And
as one does.
And it's just glorious and wonderful and just adorable. The aliens are also adorable. You got Ruth Wilson, who was known from Luther, the first season of Luther, as being the serial killer from that. Nicole Kidman plays a big role in it.
Really?
Weird for this small film like this. And big musical numbers, which is
that doesn't
awesome.
surprise me.
The
book is beautiful.
There's a scene where basically they form a big sort of that period punk band type thing, more Buzzcocks than anything else. And Ellie Fanning is their lead singer up there. And there's a big, great musical number. And I was like, this is so good. The hairs are rising on the back of my neck just talking about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got from some people I tried to turn it on to were like, it's fine. And other people were like, I understand your love for this 100%. It's not for everyone, but boy, it sure was for me. And again, we go to that whole cute huggable aliens thing, which I'm like, there's two types. There's the cute huggable, and then there's the complete xenomorph monster thing. And I like both. I'll get to the xenomorph monster on my next choice. But Danny, it is your turn.
Yeah, I too also really enjoy alien movies where we explore other facets of, like, a lot of, so many alien invasion stories deal with the fear of invasion, which no wonder it's such a big thing in America. We love to invade. And so
I never thought about it that way.
seriously,
You're correct.
I feel like these alien invasion stories are really a great way for, especially when you look at like the turn of the century and you start seeing things like the Twilight Zone and these stories and the rise and the fear of like pop culture and through the 70s and the Cold War. Like, there is definitely this fear of of being conquered, of being invaded. Which is super ironic because, like, that's something that Americans are really well known for in history. I don't know how
That's human nature.
All the
If somebody is like you, if you know somebody who always cheats on a significant other, they are in constant fear that the same thing is happening.
Oh yeah, of course,
Very
absolutely.
jealous person by definition. despite the fact.
We are afraid of our fears say more about us than they do about the world outside of us.
Sure.
Necessarily.
Even though I think like all these movies, Alien Invasion, are like same reason Red Dawn exists.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll go on and bring it. We're Americans. We'll kick your ass.
Yeah. And so I do really enjoy alien stories that explore the other the more like sort of esoteric aspects of like what life across the universe means. And now that I've said all of that, let's throw it all in the garbage and go with the 1998 film classic for millennials, The Faculty.
Oh, good movie, yeah.
Which was incredibly influential on me growing up.
I just rewatched that recently.
I rewatched it recently again for like the umpteenth time. I watch it all the time. I love it.
It has the beautiful Jordana Brewster, which I had a crush on for like 20 years. I was just like, oh my God.
Why'd you stop?
I had a crush on everyone.
Actually, when I got in a car accident, I had to go for physical therapy, and the physical therapist, dead bringer for Jordana Brewster, and I was just like, fine, fix my back, I'm good, let's do this.
And like, it's just the aliens in the story are so great because they're definitely a riff on Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Sure.
And a really like sort of meta, and it is sort of after that Scream, like, we just realized that teen horror is profitable, so let's chug this stuff out. And I feel like at the time it didn't really get the respect that it deserves, but it really has aged very well, while still being incredibly nostalgic.
Well, Kevin Williamson, did he write that one?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I was this many years old today when I found out that Bernie Wrightson did the design for the alien creature.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
Did not know that.
Which is great. I love Bernie Wrightson. He just like every once in a while he'll just like pop up as like, oh, by the way, Bernie Wrightson also created this very influential thing that you didn't know he created.
Lucky enough to get to hang out with him once before he died, which was really, really nice. With I'm blanking his name now. Steve something who did 30
Steve
Days a
Mouse.
Night. Yes, Steve Mouse. When he lived here, he
Mhm.
introduced me, and we went to a thing together. And I was like, oh my God, you're Bernie Wrightson.
Mhm.
I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Well, working at Austin Books, you probably saw him all the time.
I definitely saw him a few times. And super nice guy. But there is, if you love horror, like Bernie Wrightson has touched your life in some way, and you probably just don't know it yet.
And those alien designs are so good that doesn't surprise me.
Absolutely.
At all.
And I love that alien design too, because it's like it's part cephalopod, it's part like insect with the mandibles. It's like translucent. It's also got like tentacles. It's got like weird, veiny, like there's just so much that those creatures do, and so much about the design. Like all I can think of is just like Jon Stewart with his fingers cut off and all the like alien tentacles coming out of his fingers, and just there's so many things
Never saw
about
that episode of the Daily Show.
there's so many things about how those aliens are designed, both in their strengths and their flaws, that are really just cool, that ring very true of like any sort of biological creature to me, like primarily water based.
And wasn't it amphetamines that defeated them?
Yep. And that is like the most 1998 shit ever.
Yeah,
it's
true.
literally caffeine pills. Somebody call daytime TV. Like, we need a special real quick.
Well, I mean, like, if the aliens came now, they wouldn't have stood a chance. Every meth head would just be like, oh, you're going down, brother.
Meanwhile, I'm over here with like, oh no, I have my clean water. I'm absolutely not going to be taken over by any aliens today.
taken over by aliens real fast.
Well, it's not like those idiots from Signs that
What was that?
that are allergic to water, but they come to a planet that's 80% water.
Worst aliens ever.
I'm like, you couldn't see there was water just from looking out your
How
window?
did you even get here?
Yeah.
Did you take a bus?
Yeah, like, yeah, imagine they step off the ship and you're like, ow, why does everything hurt?
Right? Yeah, that made no sense. Some people were like, oh, well, I don't think about stuff. They didn't bother me. I thought it was a good movie. I was like, yeah! That's not nitpicking.
I mean, it was generally bad overall.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Anyway, Martin?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I want to go back to Fantastic Four. I felt confident about saying number 4, but it might be number 3. Anyway, it was the very first time they came across the Skrulls. The alien race of... Man, the Skrulls were just like little pests at the time. They were short and green, dressed in purple, and they could shapeshift. And it was such a thing of like, how is the Fantastic Four ever going to defeat them? Well, Reed Richards, besides being a genius, is just smart in general, and just said like, you guys need to become cows. And they went, yeah, okay, that sounds good.
They turned them into cows.
we can do that?
Yeah.
Become a cow?
Well, wasn't there something they did where they're like, if they stayed in a form for long enough, they like started to lose their memories of who they actually were, so they would have to shift after a while. So they kept them cows long enough where they just thought they were cows.
Yeah, but eventually it's comics, so they woke them up. But it's funny you would think about what the Skrulls became, but at the time they were just sort of a one-issue nuisance because Marvel, coming from their monster period into their superhero period, even with the Fantastic Four, that first issue is pretty much, it's our standard monster comic, but our heroes are going to get superpowers at the end. And then it was like, oh, superpowers are the thing. We're going to keep doing this. But we'll sneak a monster in every so often. It wasn't until the Super Skrull came along. Everybody's familiar with the Super Skrull. He had all the powers of the Fantastic Four.
And sometimes all at once.
Yeah, all at once. But that's when the Skrulls really became a threat. And you had the big Skrull War, and then the Secret War later, Secret Invasion, where they've taken over people and we don't know who.
Which I think that's one of the upcoming series coming up on Disney TV. I think that's next year. I think with
I think you're right. But it just you start to realize like, man, this is an alien race that is super dangerous if they are malicious. But I'd like to focus on a comic book series from 2019, a 5-issue miniseries called Meet the Skrulls. And this is post-Secret Invasion, but it deals with a family called the Warners. A nuclear family, mom, dad, 2 teenage daughters living out in the suburbs. Daughters are trying to make their way through school and getting bullied, and dad's just trying to hold a job, and the mom has a government job. But they are undercover Skrulls who've been here so long that they've created a life. And when Great Skrull Command is like, all right, we're ready to activate you, they're kind of like, oh, man.
So it's like the Americans.
Yes. Basically, yeah. It's the Americans. And it's them trying to hold off without getting discovered as long as they can. But of course, they're going to get discovered. Otherwise, we don't have a comic. But yeah, man, not just say that.
Damn it, it
is the Americans. Still, it is totally worth reading. I know it's written by Robbie Thompson, who's I don't know what else he's written, but this was a great series to just run through 5 issues, and I keep hoping they'll pick it up because I don't mean pick it up, just like these characters are out there. There's so much they can do with them.
Make a great Marvel miniseries.
Yeah. But your heart goes out to the family the whole time. Like the Skrulls had not been sympathetic until you get to Captain Marvel, where they almost seem benevolent.
Yeah, partially because the Kree are such dicks.
Right. That stays consistent everywhere. But yeah, and yeah, you could pick these up off Amazon or anywhere. But by all means.
Yeah, I need to read that. I'm familiar with it. I never actually picked it up. Maybe you could send me a link or something.
I can do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to end this show with one that is a little more commercial, but the reason I'm bringing it up is largely because it's about to come out on 4K, and I just rewatched it. The really fantastic film by Doug Liman, who made one of my favorite comedies of all time, Go, in the 90s. God, I love it so much. Edge of Tomorrow, which now they've retitled as Live, Die, Repeat, but they should have stuck with the original title, which is the short story it was based on, was All You Need Is Kill.
So this has 3 titles.
Wow.
3 titles.
How do I find it?
It's a 10, but it's got 3 titles.
Tom Cruise is a military guy, but he's the guy who like got into ROTC, and he's a major, and he just works with like his whole gig is like I sell shit. For the
he's
military.
marketing.
He's marketing, and he gets called in by Brendan Gleeson, who's like a 4-star general to England. He's like, okay, I'm not sure why you called me here. There's this major alien invasion going on. He's like, I don't know what you expect me to do other than what I do, which is marketing. And part of that is really promoting the one battle we ever won, the Battle of Verdun, which had Emily Blunt as this warrior who just killed hundreds of aliens using this new mech suits that they've developed.
She's a video game character.
Yeah, she's a video game character basically, and like, okay, we're putting her on posters and billboards and everything to give people hope we can actually defeat these really, really badass and horrible and destructive aliens. They're like the things that fly around in the air in the Matrix, except 10 times as fast and can burrow underground and come up at you.
They're like the bugs in Starship Troopers, where it takes an entire platoon to kill one.
Yeah, they're really, really tough. But she's so badass. She's walking around killing them with a freaking sword. You're like, God damn. Anyway, for reasons that are never made clear, and I'm rewatching it, I was always wondering, like, why did they do that? They basically say, okay, Tom Cruise, yeah, you're like a daddy's boy, but we're throwing you into combat, into our D-Day Normandy invasion of where we don't think they know we're coming. This will be the big battle. And he like, why? He tries to run because he's a coward, and they like zap him, and he wakes up there like on a bag of like rucksacks. Like, what's going on? And like, okay, get into formation, and they're all like, this is a deserter, but he's going with you on the front line. So all the other soldiers are like, fuck this guy, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, you know what's in that suit? A dead guy. Anyway, he gets there, and he at this point can't even turn his safety off of his suit because no one will even tell him to like use his guns. And there's just people are dying everywhere around him. And this big weird looking alien comes right at him. And he's like, the one thing he knows, noticed a guy earlier, one of his troop, he has those kind of mines that are like placed forward towards explosion. And he just kind of holds it up like this as the thing jumps on him. Claymore. And the thing just melts, but its blood covers him, and he really graphically melts too. And Groundhog's Day, back to when he first wakes up on the rucksacks. Wait, what? So, as it turns out, these aliens, part of the reason they're so undefeatable is because they actually are able to do that themselves. They have a few sort of general aliens, the commander aliens who have this ability to like go, okay, we fucked that up, let's go back and do it again. And they'll kill themselves just so that the day will repeat, and then they can do it right. So now he's got that, and as long as he's got that, they don't have it. And here's the trick, as we find out, Emily Blunt had it too, but lost it. That's why she was such a super badass, because she had it. So he's like, finds her, goes like, help, I have this thing, I think you had it. And so it turns into a sort of like repeat as he gets more and more of a badass, figures out everything. They're doing things like, okay, you get on this hill, go left, look to your right, shoot this way, just to figure out how to do this. And it is entirely fun, and the aliens are great. It's such a neat concept of like aliens as their major weapon is Groundhog's Day.
They're scary.
Yeah,
they're very threatening. It's funny because Tom Cruise has had a career of playing a guy who's a young upstart who starts out as a cocky guy, and then he gets knocked down several pegs, and that's when the audience has sympathy for him.
Yeah.
And then he rises up, and then we all cheer for him.
Figures out what you're supposed to do and how to be a hero.
And with this one, he does not start out as a cocky guy.
No.
It's funny because...
Well, he's cocky. He's just cocky in the sense of like, I don't do this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's the kind of thing where, he's running away and he's labeled a coward. But if you watch the movie a second time, knowing what he's up against, you're like, that's not being a coward. That's being a human being who goes like, I want no part of this right there. And that's great that you guys are trained for it and you want to run into it.
What you say coward, I call desire to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Run towards the murderous alien.
I don't know if you know this, but your fear response is actually meant to keep you alive. That's what its real function is.
Have you watched Falling Skies? They didn't survive the aliens in that series by running at the aliens directly. That was all Viet Cong maneuvers.
Sure.
That's how you kill the aliens there. You hide and you set explosive traps.
Yeah, it's all guerrilla war. But it is a great movie.
Yeah, it's really fun. The effects are great. And it's like, I don't know, we love this whole Groundhog's Day. Is there a Groundhog's Day concept movie that was a big release that didn't work?
I've seen some.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I only mean direct to DVD. I mean, like
No.
movie.
There's a
Because I'm
a
like
teen
Happy Death
drama.
Day.
Happy
one-
Death Day was great.
Russian Doll.
There's a teen drama with Zoe Deutsch. And Zoe Deutsch, I love her and everything, but this movie here, it does the Groundhog's Day thing, and it's not good.
What was the one with the Saturday Night Live guy that was on Hulu?
Oh, Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Like everybody, it seems like more often than not, people are like,
No,
okay.
most of the time it works.
It,
It comes up and people go, "Oh God, not this again!" And
And
by
then
the end,
move
it's
on.
like, "Oh, that was awesome."
That's great.
Yeah.
It's just it's weird that it's such a new idea still. I mean, like literally originated with Groundhog's Day, and then everyone's like, what?
I know.
Even some of the best episodes of TV shows are when they find genre shows, when they go, okay, I think it's time we got to our Groundhog's Day episode.
Well, now we live in a time where most people have played video games, so you kind of know that you have that rhythm in mind. Like, oh, well, I just get to do it again. Oh, I just get to do it again.
Well, we're going to wrap this episode up. Obviously, there's lots more we can say about
Oh,
aliens.
so much.
So, Martin and I are going to stick around and talk some more about aliens in the bonus episode. Danny has to go, though.
I do. I have to run away, but please talk about D'Onofrio because he's amazing.
He's so great.
I feel like we should wait till you're back. Wait. Before you go, do you do an impression?
Oh God, I don't even know if my face will do.
You go, all slack.
Sugar.
Sugar.